percentage issue. That seems to be a.
I still remember what you said. Well, you were a dad first.
Not too big. That's good.
Full house tonight. Huh? I did. I said it's a full house on it.
Oh, so they're all in the office and then. Oh, yeah, in the car. The car saying.
Push it over the
That clock is not quite good, but they did get it fixed. The other night it was like 2 hours short. Good evening, and welcome to the Monday, October 27, 2025 regular meeting of the Weaverville Town Council. Calling this meeting to order, and first, you all, council members, you've had an opportunity to review the agenda. Are there any adjustments to be made to the agenda as it's in your packet?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to take on the consent agenda item H, annexation of the Silverwood property, and move that to maybe discussion in November council meeting, because we need some more information and data.
Does everyone understand that we would move that item to the November 17 meeting and have a more robust, and well, by then we'll have more information, we'll have a chance to do some number crunching, et cetera, and be able to discuss this in more detail. Everyone good with that? Okay, and also, I'm sorry?
Yes.
Also, I'd like to add a discussion, not really a discussion, but to the discussion, some information we have from the economic development folks. They are having a grant opportunity they need permission to pursue. Are there any other adjustments or changes to the agenda as it's written? If not, is there a motion for approval of the agenda with the two adjustments we've just mentioned?
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. It is the responsibility of all of us on council to state any kinds of conflicts of interest or the appearance thereof. Are there any items on tonight's agenda that someone on the council would have a conflict of interest with? No, thank you very much. Scotty, would you do item number 4, our community recognition item?
Mr. Mayor, Council, tonight we have an opportunity to recognize some members of the community that do a lot of behind-the-scenes work with our garden club, Ms. Susan, Ms. Pat, and others. One of the things that I have found as taking this position is that there's a lot of tremendous assets, and we saw in the storm of neighbors helping neighbors, but every year our reefs go up on all these buildings, and as I got to asking, well, who's responsible for that? Is that something else I'm supposed to do? It's like, no, don't worry, we got it taken care of. So as I dug into that and then walking through the clock lot in different areas, we found that the garden club does a lot of work that has a tendency to go unnoticed. I want to make sure we took this opportunity tonight to recognize them. Some of the things they do is they maintain the gardens at the Main Street Nature Park, as well as including the Island Garden, the pollinator area, especially with us now fixing to install the butterfly for the trail there, and then, so it'll have another little pollinator garden with that. So they are instrumental in the efforts that they make, not only from the reef standpoint that I'm so gracious that they do, so that I don't have to decorate them. But again, the things that they do in the beautification of the town is a tremendous asset. So Ms. Pat, Ms. Susan, whichever wants to come up. Ms. Michelle's got a certificate for y'all. So. Yes, ma'am. We appreciate what y'all do. So. All right. Pull some weeds. All right.
That's a great invitation. Thank you, Pat. Item 5 is this evening's consent agenda, and Manager Harris, would you go through the items that are in the consent agenda?
On page 3 is your September 22nd Town Council regular meeting. On page 8 is the tax collection. To date, we've received 14.15% of the town's property tax. On page 14 we have is a budget amendment. There was some discussion about the Weaverville, California donation. I reached out to the school systems, asked if they had any items that they would like for us to purchase for them or how they would like to move forward. The agreement has been that we're going to split that donation between the two schools and issue them a check, and some of them would like to apply it to some T-shirts for their students. One of the schools would like to apply it to some other means that they're looking at doing, so we're going to split that money since it come from the children at Weaverville, California, felt that that was the best place for it to go back to was for the schools in itself. On page 14, that was for that one. So on 16, a budget amendment. On those figures, it's preliminary audit work. As you'll see, there's transferring numbers for fiscal year 25, transferring the capital reserve funds of $525,000 that was set aside to the fire truck purchase, $18,503, and $12,300 to our general fund, to the water fund, and the fire fund respectively. And then on the capital reserve fund and water closed out at $384,154 transferred to the water treatment capital project. And then from the general fund to the rec complex, $52,634 to finish out that project. And again, those are from the audit and some preliminary audit work in that. And when Tanya comes up to do the finance report tonight, she can answer any questions you have on that aspect if there are questions. Moving along to page 18 is a road closure for our holiday parade. And I'm happy to announce that talked with Mr. Doug Jackson, our council member, and he will be our grand marshal for the holiday parade this year. So we appreciate all the effort that he's put in and be honored to have him serving as our grand marshal.
Do you have a Santa outfit?
On page 20, that is a waterline allocation. Greenwood Park LLC continues its development in the Rims Creek Village area, including the Greenwood Park Phase 4. The Assistant Public Works Director has recommended approval of that waterline easement area. So that is in the consent agenda item. There's the plot shows in there, and also set aside waterline repair guarantee of $5,000 to cover any defects that might be discovered within a 3-year of our acceptance. Moving along to page 22, that is, you pulled that from code setting public hearing on code amendments for our planning board. Council's asked to set a public hearing on the proposed text amendments at our December 9th, 6 p.m. meeting here in council chambers. Again, that will be served from the planning board of the R6 and R10 zoning districts to support higher density and single-family residential development. And the planning board has recommended that for the public hearing on December the 9th. Page 20, page 53 is
We pulled that out.
pulled that out of the agenda. So, and then page 72 is our street paving project. Proposed, we've added a change order to this for paving of Hamburg Drive to the contract of a cost of $29,634.50. The attached change order changes that and adds 15 days to the contract for time to do the additional work. This adjustment still falls within the original budgeted amount. That is it for your, and on the final item on your consent is the changing of the meeting schedule. Moved the regular meeting schedule for Monday, November 24th, which is Thanksgiving week, to that Monday, November 17th. And then have the option of eliminating the workshop, which is currently scheduled for 11/18. However, if you want to do the workshop for the consent agenda that you moved, we can do it that night if you need to do that. Again, this is as far as our swearing-in ceremony, that would take place at our town council's first regular scheduled meeting, which will be December the 15th, and is recommended as the organizational meeting at that point in time. And then our newly elected officials will be sworn in, and the vice mayor will be appointed then. So that's within our rules of procedures, and that's it for the consent agenda.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the manager regarding the consent agenda items? Thank you very much. Scotty, if you would give us your town manager's report, please.
The first thing I'd like to do in our manager's report is introduce our new public, I'm sorry.
You have to approve the,
Oh, thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Thanks for reminding me, guys. Keep me on my toes.
In the manager's report tonight, I'm gonna do it a little different. For one, you've got it in your packet, so I'm gonna highlights on it, but one of the suggestions that has come out, and we've started with today's meeting, is that we also post the manager's report online now and push it out on social media to give it some more visibility instead of just reading through it so fast as I tend to do sometimes, but that way we get it out to the public as well. But one of the things I want to do tonight is introduce Angela Reese. If you'll stand up, please, ma'am, as our new Public Works Director. Give you a little background on Ms. Reese. She has approximately 15 years of municipal leadership experience with a proven track record in overseeing public operations, infrastructure projects, and team development across western North Carolina. Prior to coming here, she was the projects and facility manager with the town of Black Mountain. She is a graduate of Western Carolina University with a master's degree in public affairs and a bachelor's in criminal justice with a certificate from UNC Charlotte in project management, and has attended numerous classes at the UNC School of Government, and has a master's municipal clerk designation. So we welcome Angela Reese tonight as our Public Works Director. As I mentioned earlier, that some of the feedback that came with us now posting the community conversations with the manager. We held that meeting Tuesday night last week, had approximately 20 people attend that session, offering some good feedback and looking at ways that we can be more engaged in the community, not only hosting those once a quarter, but getting out to some HOA meetings. So as far as engagement with some other officials, this past week I met with Ryan Cody, the new administrator at Marshville. We talked about some resiliency with water lines and them the possibility of purchasing water from us, as well as I met with Seth with Woodford Water Authority and talked about some resiliency process there. It was a very productive week last week, meeting and trying to plan for resiliencies. Population estimates with the last census data tipped just over 5,000. I know we're looking at stronger numbers than that based off of doors coming on plots that are already approved. But as far as our official numbers on the census data, we just saw those numbers just over 5,000. Duke Energy will be in the area performing work, and they will be providing us a schedule, but they've started some work. They've been asked to wait for the downtown area till after the holiday season, so we will be pushing out information on that whenever that occurs, but there will be some lane closures that will be conducted by them, assisting on that. But again, that's going to be, again, with the holiday season shopping downtown and disrupting traffic flow, we asked them to wait till after January, so they'll start in January on that. That way we get through the Christmas and the holiday season for our residents and tourists and visitors downtown. Speaking of the holiday parade, sign-up sheet is up on the website, with the holiday parade being the first Saturday in December, which will be December 6th this year. You can see in the packets from the water wheel restoration how it's going up. We are working on some decorative fencing to go around there and some other items. Duke has been down there to assess about running some light down there for power and to give us some more visibility in the nighttime hours and secure that area. The Davy Tree Group has come in and done an assessment. They started this weekend with some trees that had to be removed. They removed 2 down at the Lake Louise area that were damaged from previous lightning strikes. There was 4 dangerous trees and unhealthy trees that are recommended for removal, including the spruce tree up at the clock lot, a heritage pine down at Lake Louise, and 2 black walnuts in the Main Street Nature Park. So we do have the grant funding that they will be taking care as part of that project. Public restrooms. We have talked about this for multiple times. We're looking at areas in the clock lot for installing the public restrooms there. And that's, as you'll see in your strategic plan, that was given a high priority from not only the community, but those that had provided some insight with our goals on the strategic plan process. So we're looking at the rooms there to be installed as ADA accessible with restrooms in a central location. Again, staff is still working on some design and cost estimates and we'll look at a bidding project, and hopes to begin that project after the first of the year. The loss of authority on payment of standards, what that is now there's statute that we, in Session Law 2025-94, forming which was House Bill 926, and it went into effect on October 6th, is that we're not allowed to build beyond DOT standards on our road requirements anymore. Everything has to be up to the DOT standard. So before, we were able to have a more stringent process than DOT. So staff is working on this, and will bring forward amendments once they're drafted and reviewed by the planning board.
So let me make sure I understand, Mr. Guy. So they're saying is we can't have standards higher than the state?
Correct.
Well, that changes a lot for us,
Yes.
doesn't it?
Yes. Fire truck and repair, we're still waiting. As you were made aware about a month ago, we had a fire engine that caught on fire on a call one evening. The insurance adjusters have been out and looked at it. We're still waiting for their final report. But as you know, there is a significant lead time on the purchase of custom fire apparatus. So we are waiting that and hope to move forward with that and get some feedback from the insurance and auditors soon to figure out how we move forward with that, whether it's determined to be a total loss or whether it's a repairable item. So, on the county fire tax district, the county continues to have meetings every 2 weeks with our fire chiefs to discuss the range of the fire tax in itself and what that looks like. As you know, there's a range right now from 9 cents to 22 cents. They're talking about everything from staffing models to minimum pay to response times. So they're looking at a wide variety of this and with that on how to fund it and what that encompasses and what it looks like. Again, that's the chiefs have reached out to several other counties that have implemented this, asking for feedback of what worked, what didn't work, and are discussing that in those county meetings. On our capital improvement projects updates, Appalachian Site Works has begun a waterline replacement in the Stony Knob area. C&T Paving is actively working on projects to paving. They've completed College Crescent, Harbeck Park, and Sunset. Work on Lauren, Hamburg Drive, Oak, Wimlet, and Waterleaf is still remaining. Our water treatment plant generator gas conversion project, pre-construction meeting was held on October 23rd with work to begin in the first part of November. The project permitting is finally moving at the state level, and we hope to have a final permit approval by the spring of 26, with the project under contract by July of 26, with an anticipated 12-month construction. Our East Street culvert repair started on October 20th, which is a FEMA project, and the Lake Louise Drive stormwater culvert repair estimates are being reviewed now. The current estimates range from $102,000 to $156,000. So we've asked staff to take a better understanding and the difference in the quotes contracted for this work. So, but I would like your authority for council to recommend that we can move forward with this project after we determine that there's no hidden cost in there due to the big differences in those two projects. We want to be able to ask the contractors to make sure that they did capture everything that's going to be needed in that project. But we'd like to move forward on that once we determine that those they have factored in all costs in there and make an informed decision. So then the fire station stormwater and pavement project, that repair has been completed, which is, you know, that's from the sinkhole that occurred in the apron in front of the fire station in the base. The School of Government class, I was awarded a scholarship last year and had to postpone that due to hurricane striking this area. So they allowed me to come to this year's cohort in 2025. They moved the scholarship back to that, but it's leading for results class at the School of Government. And I will be attending that class. The first week will be November 10th, with the second week being the week of December the 8th, attending class at the School of Government out of the office at that point in time. So your upcoming meetings and events, November 11th is our Veterans Day. Town office will be closed. November 17th is Town Council's regular meeting. December 6th is the holiday parade at 11 a.m. On December the 9th is our council workshop meeting at 6 p.m. And December 15th is our Town Council regular meeting, and that'll be the organizational meeting with the swearing in. So, and that's it for your manager's report, sir.
Thank you. So with regard to the class you're going to, you'll be back by the meeting on November 17th?
Yes, I can zoom in if you would like, sir.
Good, you're glad you'll be here. And with regard to the Lake Louise stormwater culvert repair, Am I understanding you want approval tonight for that, or you want to wait until you get more exact?
I would like the approval to go ahead and do that. We're still gonna go with lowest bid, but do with the two differences in there, I wanna make sure that somebody didn't miss the mark on something and we get, caught off guard at the end of when the final payment does come due.
Does anyone have any questions regarding this repair job? Is there a motion to provide authority for the manager to proceed with the work with estimates ranging from 102 to 156,000?
Motion made.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Any other questions regarding the town manager's report? No. Next, we'll move into item 7 on our agenda, which is our general public comments. We do have some people who want to speak this evening, and we look forward to hearing from you. When you come forward, if you would state your name and your address, speak clearly into the microphone, and be nice. First up is Jeff McKenna.
Hi, Jeff McKenna, 30 Yost Street. This is just a real quick shout out for Phil Barnett and the Economic Development Group. I believe Phil's scheduled to give you all an update, so I'm not going to take away from that. But, you know, just in a few years ago, when things would come up like economic development, like who's going to call on businesses that want to come here? How are we going to help promote a company that needs some assistance? How can we go chase grants that are out there? Basically, council members were kind of looking at each other like, you know, do you have time? Do you have the expertise? Or ask staff. And most of the people don't have the expertise, and they had a full plate. So it was kind of frustrating. And just in a few short years under Phil's guidance, because I've been attending these meetings, I've seen this group go from what we had to a well-oiled machine now. And they've got a group of people that are going after grants aggressively. And so basically, I think it's poised to be a real extension of the town and the staff in being proactive into the future. And so I'm very excited to see that. And there's been a lot of hard work. The people that are volunteering, they're in their careers doing things like business development and marketing and graphic design. So they're giving their time because they care about the town like everybody does. And I think it's a big missing link that we had. And I'm just real excited about the possibilities. So thank you, Phil.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Andrew Nagle.
Andrew Nagle, 300 Aiken Road. So after the public comment, our Buncombe County tax assessor is going to give us a presentation. And I would ask these questions after the presentation, but I can't because public comment's before it. So question for him will be, why does the county assess every 4 years? And I know we pushed it a year last year, when the state law requires it at a minimum of 8. So why does Buncombe County choose to do it at double the timeline compared to the state requirement? I think I know the answer, but it'll be interesting if he has an opinion on that. Second question is going to be, what has he used? Does he use the cost approach or the sales comparison approach? And I think I know the answer to that, but hopefully he'll answer that. Lastly, especially with Helene last year, I'm hoping that everybody's tax values go down, not up. So I find it bad timing that we're doing it again, and I think we should have pushed it down the road again. But I know last time they did it, Patrick got hit horribly bad. I think his went up 50% or some crazy number. And the town was well over 10%. And we lowered the effective tax rate to try to balance that. But I sure hope we don't see the same increase in valuation as we did 5 years ago. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Krager, if you would address those questions when you make your presentation, that would be helpful. Next is Darla Letourneau.
Darla Letourneau, 16 Lakeshore Drive in Weaverville. And I really just want to thank the council on 3 items relative to citizen engagement. First, I'd like to thank the council for agreeing at your August meeting to provide the opportunity for citizen engagement on the strategic plan. Scotty and his team developed and distributed a survey and did a hands-on workshop. I think the revised plan
I think the battery went dead just a minute.
Yeah.
The revised plan is improved and it's great that it reflects citizen input. It also, I think, I encourage you to continue to do this, not only the way this was done, but to try to do it earlier in the process for plans that are community-wide and that are intended to guide us in our policies going forward. I'd also like to thank the town manager for hosting the first community conversation. I think it was a great opportunity. There weren't all that many people there. I think the candidates outnumbered and council members outnumbered citizens. But I think the word was spread that this was a great way to actually engage one-on-one with Scotty. And I think your future meetings will be even better attended. And I do hope that the HOAs take you up on your offer to meet with them, because I really think that's a way to engage with specific communities, and I encourage people to do that. I'd also like to thank the town for sharing the monthly report. As you saw from his reading of today, there's a lot in there that is of real interest to the residents, and it's just an easy job of sharing that on the website and having the monthly reports, with the tab, and to also put it out on social media. So thank you. And I'm really encouraged by the town's commitment to more open and frequent communication and citizen engagement. And I think it's going to be increasingly important as we deal with the growth that is here and accelerating, because I think that citizens, an engaged citizenry is really makes for a better community. So I really appreciate the progress that's been made in these last few months. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Phil Barnett. And Phil, since you're going to be up here, let me ask, I had added a discussion regarding the grant proposal that WEDAC wants permission to apply for. So if you'd add that to your presentation, we'll just take care of that now instead of adding it to the agenda later. And also, I was going to talk about the upcoming visit from TDA, if you'd address that too, since you're the expert and you're here, so. Okay. Save me some work.
Good evening. I'll start with that. My name is Phil Barnett. We live at 22 Whitetail Drive in Weaverville. As you heard from Jeff, the Weaverville Economic Development Committee is maturing, and we're happy to report we have a new grants committee that is volunteer. They're not charging us anything to write grants, and we're wanting to take advantage of that, which is really a great step forward. You may remember that we actually had a 2014 feasibility study for the Reams Creek Greenway, and we now have an opportunity actually to update that. And that application is going to be due December 30th. So we've been working with Mr. Eller to prepare the application package for approval on the 15th. At least during your next meeting, we'd like to get feedback from you and approval to submit it. We don't have a cost estimate yet, but there's a 20% local match. This is coming from the French Broad MPO. They actually have a $500,000 budget, but it will be divided between two projects, and we're hoping to win one of those. We understand that funds were set aside by the town approximately on the order of $12,000 back in 2017. And we're hoping that those funds are still on the shelf to help with match. So you'll be hearing more about that. I wanted to give you also a quick update. We did apply for a $500,000 grant from the Dogwood Health Trust to help us retrofit the factory at 115 Reams Creek Road. We did not qualify even though we were a finalist. So we're still scratching our head about that. But as it turns out, the trust is not able to underwrite the upgrade of private property. So we had already asked the owner if he would give us give the town the real estate, but the answer was no. So again, we're also very excited about the project list that's coming through in terms of what we can pick to really enhance the town of Weaverville, and I'm sure a number of you have given input on those projects. Another update on 115 Reams Creek Road. The NCDEQ finished their hopefully last round of chemical testing this Friday. And the test year agent reports that we should hear within the next week or so that those numbers, if they are as low as they were in January, the NCDEQ will actually not be visiting Weaverville anymore after 15 years of study. So fingers crossed, incense burning. We're hoping that that's going to really come through. And to Mayor's point, we also have a visit from Vic Isley and the Explore Asheville team coming out to the factory on November 11th at 3 o'clock. It only took one email to get their interest to come visit this property and hear about the project. They're actually they're wanting to extend their reach out into the county to find new projects to enhance our attractiveness to visitors and tourists, and that particular project really caught their ear. So again, fingers crossed on a great outcome for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So we'll wait to hear back from your, the grant proposal at our next meeting then. Okay, thank you. Pamela McCurry?
Hi, I'm Pamela McCurry. I live at 40 Ray Hall Road in Weaverville. We're outdoor at North Michael High School. We moved kind of what we were here for, which is the 10 Silverwood Farm issue. Our property butts up to the back side, so we're very concerned. We were first told it was going to be single-family homes only, which we were fine with that, because, you know, the apartment complex is what the issue is for the biggest for us in the community. We look around Weaverville, not just Weaverville, but Buncombe County. My husband's family's out in Inca. I have family in flight around these things. Every time you turn a gate, you've got a new complex popping up. These are not small apartment complexes like we used to have. I mean, LTK out behind North Michael, you know, family was a small apartment complex. That's kind of where we had for a long time, the small ones. Even in Weaverville, we had small ones. And now it seems we're getting these, you know, 300, 400, 500 units. I don't know about the Northridge Farms behind Walmart. I'm hearing that's going to be close to maybe 800. I don't know if that's correct.
600, and it's mixed. There's apartments, there's condos, there's
Right.
single, but total about 600
Okay.
homes.
Right. So I've lived in Weaverville my whole life. I know change is constant. About the only thing that's constant in life. But there might be a little bit too much change going on. Helene taught us a lot, and the traffic, not that we didn't appreciate the help, but the traffic that came with it was horrible. You know, when 40 was shut down, it was a mess through here.
Yep.
It was hard just even getting to Madison County, just getting down through 26, went over to Tennessee. Of course, you know, they had issues on that side. But our real concern is Old Mars Hill Highway, the morning of the schools. I mean, you've got all the schools through there. It's horrible in the morning. And it's horrible for people from Weaverville to get to Asheville to go to work. And what, you know, if we just keep building and keep bringing in things, what's it gonna do to our locals that, we've lived here forever? You know, I know Landon, Mr. Cox lived, I've spoken to him a couple of times, and he called us generational. I've spoken to several generational people that were, you know, things have been passed down. I'm probably about the fourth generation. My son now has a daughter. I'd love to pass it down to her, but if it keeps growing and things come in, I'm concerned about crime. I know the crime rate's gonna go up. More people you get in, more crime comes with it most of the time. It's very seldom that your crime rate doesn't go up. So, I know we moved the meeting, was that to the 17th?
To the November 17th, and I would suggest that you might want to come back to that meeting, because we'll have a lot more detailed information then than we do now.
That's what I was gonna ask, okay. Is there gonna be public comment that time?
Yes, there will be.
Okay, all right.
And then the next step after that would be that we'd have to set a public hearing in addition to that. So there'll be a couple opportunities for public input on those projects.
Okay, thank you.
Good timing. Keith McCurry?
I'm pretty loud. So. My name's Keith McCurry, 40 Ray Holler Road, and I know you listened to my wife just a few minutes ago. She spoke last. I'm actually her better half, so I won't take too much of your time, just 3 minutes here. But I do want to thank you for allowing me to speak. I do have some questions about this complex. I am very concerned about it as well. The apartments that are coming in behind us. I don't know if any of you have toured that property. It is pretty steep. And there's going to have to be a lot of grading and construction to take place to build these apartments there. And I don't know how far off the property lines this is going to be, but we have asked Landon Cox for the designs for this property. He has failed to deliver them to us to see what we are looking at and of the construction going on. There's a lot of impacts, I think, that need to be studied. The traffic impact, as my wife spoke about. Also, the environmental impact that this is going to cause. And also the geological impact. I know I have some friends that live across in Kentwood Acres. They are here. Part of this property is in a floodplain. And is this floodplain going to be brought up on this side to keep that side from flooding? That is just going to shove that water over into Kentwood Acres and flood these people out. So I think that needs to be addressed as well. If that property is graded down, that is in behind me, we are up on the top of the ridge right there on Ray Holler Road. One of the beautiful sights you could see up there looking off into that valley. I think Julie Young toured that property with Reese Lasher, the property owner, right before the planning and zoning meeting here at the start of the month. She commented about how beautiful that was up there. Well, that's my property right in behind that. And if they are going to grade that down and take that down, I'm going to be looking at a wall, probably at least 100, maybe 200 foot high to level that out for that apartment complex to be built. That is the only way I can see it be put in. We all have well water up there. I'm very concerned about that because they're going to hit solid rock at about 50 feet. My well casing is 50 feet right up on top. I've had water there for 33 years. I have 2 wells actually up there. There's 7 wells total at Ray Holler Road. And I am very concerned when they take that down and have to do the blasting or whatever, that when they take that rock down, our well water will dry up. And I got a smart aleck comment from the developer saying, well, you just have to get on city water. I don't think that's very good remark back to me when I mentioned that. So I think these questions need to be asked. I think this needs to be studied and taken very seriously before this is in. This is not a very good community to put something like this in. I do thank you for my time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And again, I just remind you that if the November 17th meeting, I think we'd have, I'm going to assume, I could be wrong, that we'll have plans available at that time, and some of your questions may be able to answer then. So come back then. Thank you. Next, we're moving on to our discussion and action on this evening. And first up is the presentation on the property reappraisals for this upcoming year. And Mr. Eric Krager Buncombe County Tax Assessor. You'll come and tell us about that.
Mayor and Council, while Eric's making his way to the podium, we do have some handouts on the table that the citizens are welcome to grab on the way out as well, in multiple languages.
Excellent.
All right, testing this out. Just one more. Never fails, I always mess this up. So, I want to thank this council for having me here today. It's my first time being here. I'm Eric Krager. I'm the property assessor for Buncombe County. It says interim on the slide there, but I actually was appointed last month, so I need to update that. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about reappraisal, answer any questions you might have as well. And if I can't answer them here on the spot, I'll get those answers for you all. I'll send those via email to Mr. Harris here and distribute it. But anyway, I have a few slides. So what is a reappraisal? Reappraisal is the process all 100 counties in North Carolina go through to revalue all commercial, residential real estate, vacant land, all that. So every county in North Carolina is required to do it every 8 years, but Buncombe County does it on a 4-year cycle. Most counties in North Carolina actually do it on a 4-year cycle as well. We elected to do so. I don't remember the year. It was before my time with the county. I've been in the county 10 years. So we've been doing it for quite some time. Most counties do it that way. Some are actually mulling over doing a more frequent reappraisal. So Buncombe County does it every 4. We were due to do one on January 1 of 25. Of course, we pushed it a year due to the lien. So so now we're due on January 1, 2026. Now, general statute tells us that we must appraise at 100% of market value, meaning what does that property sell for? Properties like yours sell for in an open market, and that's how we come up with our reappraisal value. Now, why do we reappraise? Well, we have to this year because DOR sent us a notice on January 1 of 23, said you must do a reappraisal by January 1 of 26. Okay, that's a 3-year notice. So what happened there is there's a range of acceptability of quality data for the assessment office. We fell below 85% assessment level. So we were actually, in January 1 of 23, we were at 70% of the market value. So our last reappraisal was January 1 of 21, and we all know what happened. COVID, the market ticked up, and we fell well below that threshold for acceptability. We received that notice. So now, one of the other reasons we do a reappraisal is for equalization, fairness. You know, I think in my mind, a typical home, a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath ranch house, well, that's going to be worth something here in Weaverville, but it's going to be worth something different over in Bent Creek, in Hall Creek, you know, in South Asheville. That's what reappraisal is about, is taking those properties, commercial, residential, setting them at market value to re-equalize. Okay. Now, so mass appraisal. We reappraise using the method called mass appraisal. We do not have the staff. It would take several hundred folks to do a fee appraisal on all 135,000 properties here in Buncombe County. So we use mass appraisal, and in a nutshell, that's basically taking like properties that are within the vicinity of each other, either in the same neighborhood or the same area, grouping them together and seeing what they're selling for in the open market. Now, there's 3 approaches to value. Fee appraisers use these same approaches, but we use them in a mass appraisal way. So there's 3 approaches to value. You've got your cost approach, which is for your unique properties that do not sell in the open market, like this government building we're in right now, churches, those kinds of properties. Those are on the cost approach. Next, sales comparison. That's your favorite approach of value, right? That's your typical, what you'd see a realtor have, you know, your grid, your comp grid. So those are for properties that do participate in the open market. There's a lot of data there, a lot of information. So it's homes, single-family homes, townhomes, condos, those types of properties. And your last approach to value is the income approach. Those are for income-producing properties. They also don't participate in the open market as a single-family home would. So the best way to get a value on those is to collect market rents, what properties are leasing for apartments, hotels, you know, offices, warehouses, those types of properties. Okay. So every reappraisal, we have goals. This reappraisal is no different. We actually have a lot more goals than we have any other reappraisal. So I don't know if you all remember, but in 21, we actually had an ad hoc reappraisal committee formed after that reappraisal to look at our processes, learn about reappraisal. And it was made up of local residents, local community leaders, appraisers, and real estate agents. And they met for, goodness, 7-8 months, something along that timeline. And during that time, they learned about mass appraisal. They took in presentations. We also had a study done at the end of 2 years ago at this point by a gentleman named Kevin Keene. He is a mass appraisal specialist with nearly 40 years of experience. And he's an instructor. He's very intelligent data analyst, and he reviewed our entire office processes. He interviewed our staff. He drove around the county with our appraisers. He looked at our data in ways that, we just don't have those folks in the office to do that. So he took an outsider's view, looked at our data, made recommendations too. And that's what these goals are based on, is that committee and his study. So basically, they all fell along the same recommendations. Okay, so it's about staffing, it's about training, our data quality, and outreach. What I'm doing here, education, outreach, getting out there, making sure we're available to our public to have conversation with us. So some of the goals that we have here, I'm just going to touch on a few of them. If you have questions about them, I'm happy to go back and pull these back up and talk about it. So outreach, education, try to get there to the community, get on social media, be available to talk. Actually, you can contact our office and request that I come do a presentation like this here, or go to an HOA meeting or a community meeting and talk to our public. So another one is, one of the big ones up here is we actually have appraisers assigned to modest and luxury properties. So we've created an appraisal area for luxury homes. We also have pulled apart the more modest properties, making sure we're valuing those fairly. And also we're transitioning over to more data modeling, which is something Kevin Keene really stressed, that it's essentially moving that direction, become more technical, more advanced in our analytics and our GIS, our mapping, all that stuff. So we've been working on that since 2021 anyway. He's helped us expedite that process. So we have a lot of long-term, short-term goals. They surround around data. And we've also employed more staffing. We were able to add 5 positions since 2021. And they weren't just appraiser positions. We did add those. We needed more appraisers. But we actually have a data team now, a data analyst, a reappraisal analyst. I was actually a head of one of those departments years ago before I got into this position. So we have made some vast improvements since 21. I think we're going to see the higher quality reappraisal. I think we did a great job in 21 as well, but there's Kevin King's study, which is available on our website. You can go read that. You can see his review of our 21 reappraisal and all of his recommendations. But I think we're advancing. We're moving in the right path, and I think we're going to look at a very high quality reappraisal in 26. Now, so what you need to know about reappraisal is if you own property in Buncombe County, your value is going to change. Okay, so I just want to get that out there and say that. So, reappraisal is the revaluing of all real estate. Again, so, but what you see here in this chart, I want to share with you all. This is the taxable value in Weaverville over the years, right? You can see the 2 reappraisals, 2017 and 21, that jump. But you can see year-over-year change in that chart. So what that is in between reappraisals, due to construction, new construction, improvements on properties, subdivisions being created, your taxable value can increase. Your taxable value can change without a reappraisal. But why the reappraisal is so drastic is that we are considering sales. We're considering what the market's doing in a reappraisal. We don't do that in between reappraisals. We track it, but we don't change folks' value based on sales that happen. So this reappraisal is based on sales that happened after January 1 of 21 to the end of this year. So the reappraisal for 21 was what sold after January 1 of 2017 to January 1 of 21. So that's why that jump can be so drastic in a reappraisal. You're frozen in time. So one of the things I like to say is today is January 1 of 21 in our office still. So you build a home today, it's valued as if you built it that day. Okay. So, and I was trying to kind of addressed one of the gentleman's public comment earlier. So that's why we do it. Right now, we're kind of frozen in time. So we're trying to keep up with the market as required by the Department of Revenue. Okay. So also reappraisal, one of the things we hear a lot, but it's not a method to increase revenues. Okay, DOR just requires us to set a market value. That's just one piece of our property owner's tax bills. We only supply one piece of that. The other is the rate. So what we do is we report taxable value to the municipalities and all the districts in the county, and budget offices and boards like this one. They set the tax rate, and that creates your tax bill. Now, one thing too I want to just mention as well is our office will report area-wide, county-wide median ratios, meaning what the percentage of increase will be in every area. They'll see that information out there. But just because we say an area of the county is going to increase by 5% or 10%, doesn't mean every property is going to increase that much. So your individual home or commercial business might increase 20%. It might go down 10%, or it might stay very close to what it was. Now, what I also want to get the word out about is what can we do right now? Now, I want property owners to go to tax.buncombenc.gov. It's really simple. You can look up your property by your name, your address, go to it's called your property portal, go to your property record card and review that data that's on that page. Review your record card, because if that's not right, if that's not accurate, we need to know, because if we have bad data on your property, you're going to get a bad value. So I'm out here trying to make sure that everybody knows that, they're aware. It's really important to check that site. It's very easy, it's mobile friendly. Get on there and look at it. You can also request a change to it on that site. But one piece too is I just want our residents and our commercial business owners to communicate with us. Review their record card. If you see something wrong, talk to us. Now, in February of next year, all owners will receive a notice of value after reappraisal, okay? So on that notice, you're going to see what your value is, of course, but you also see pieces, the components of what make up your value, your square footages, your acreage, those kinds of items. You'll see that on there. You'll also see instructions of how to appeal your value, how we came up with your value. The plan is to put a QR code on there so you can go right to your appeal and go ahead and appeal. But one of the things I want to stress is if you just want to talk to one of our appraisers, give us a call. We can talk about your value. Okay? You can even book an appointment to have a phone call with them online once we get past January into February. So what's next? Finalizing reappraisal right now. So a lot of work's happening in that office. Also trying to get the word out like I am here. So we're in the final stages. We're still tracking the market. We'll be tracking that all the way up until the end of the year. And then in January, we'll be putting our final touches on reappraisal, getting those values ready for February. And then that's when the notices will be in mailboxes throughout that month. And the appeal period, that'll be open then as well. So the reappraisal is effective as of January 1 of 26. So we just need that month of January to finish the work. We'll get those notices out to our public. The appeal period will be open. And right now, it's going to be, I'll have those dates on the notice too, the appeal period dates. The plan is to have it through the month of April. Okay, so what that is, that's the informal appeal period where you appeal directly to the assessment office. If you don't agree with that assessment or the results of the appeal, you can also appeal again to the Board of Equalization and Review. Those are local appraisers, real estate agents, people in this community that own property here. They will hear your appeal and they will make a decision. If you don't like that decision, you can appeal to Raleigh, go to the Property Tax Commission. So there are avenues, but one thing I just want to make sure everybody knows that it's not, I don't want anybody to believe it's a combative process or that we discourage appeals. We want you to appeal. We want the data right because we want the values right. Okay, so that's it. Do I have any questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Krager?
Can you say that sentence one more time about 5 minutes ago where you said we're in 2021?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So,
Okay.
We are still adhering to the 2021 schedule of values. So it's just like if you build a home today, it's as if you built it in January 1 of 21. So we are currently 5 years behind the market. So
And
that's
you
why we need to do a reappraisal, is to keep up with the market. DOR requires us to do it.
by
And
law.
with mass appraisal, then it has nothing to do with what it sold at last month, or it does?
Yes, it does. So I like to bring up my 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath ranch house, right? So those get valued. Let's say you own that home, but you're not participating in the market, you're not selling it, but your neighbors are. So that's how we value your property. We pull those properties like yours together, see what they're selling for. If it's not, if it looks like not an open market transaction, say there's a deal going on there, we kick those out. We don't let that value your property. And one of the common questions I get too, which I should also mention, is, okay, well, I live in that house. That house was built in the 70s. I got somebody moved here from somewhere else and built a brand new house, 3 stories tall, beside mine. Is that going to affect my property value? Those homes are different. We do not group those homes together. So just want to get ahead of that. I get that question quite a bit. So, any other questions?
Yes, so make sure I understand, on your chart here, you show that in the 2021 reappraisal, Weaverville had an, I assume this is an average increase of 21% in value?
That is actually the overall taxable value increase. So if you look
Okay.
to the left there, that is your overall taxable value that the assessor reported to your finance director.
Right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because actually in the 2021 reappraisal, if I remember correctly, the average home in Weaverville went up 32%. We had the honor of being the biggest increase in the county, an honor we hope not to repeat this time.
Yes.
Another question, so many folks in town had damage to their homes because of Helene, trees falling on roofs, porches, et cetera. So are those home improvements, which were paid for mostly by insurance, is that going to have a negative effect on people's reappraisal value?
So what we did for Helene, I'll just touch back on that. What we did in Helene is we went out and visited best we could every property that was damaged. 5,000, 5,500 parcels, if I'm not mistaken, throughout the county. And we actually adjusted values down for this year's billing cycle based on the amount of damage.
Mine went up.
Yours went up?
Yep.
We can talk about that. Happy to have the conversation. However, to answer that question is we did adjust those values down. We are checking those. I do have field crews going out right now, and they're going out looking at all the Helene damaged parcels, getting updates on them. If they're still damaged, we're not going to take off the damage adjustments that we did put on them. But it's all about the market. So those homes, they will have a base market value based on what is selling on that's grouped with that home. And if there's still damage on it, there will be an adjustment down on that. When that is a repair happen.
But what if they've completed the repairs and now they have a new roof, which is really just replacing what they have, but now it's a new roof? Is that going to have a negative impact on the value?
A negative? No, sir.
Or is someone going to get a higher value or a higher appraisal because they have a new roof?
No, general maintenance, things like those, replacing roofs, those are considered to be just part of your base value. We do not increase. If you say I've replaced all my roof, we will not increase your value based on that.
Okay. So some folks in town have in fact received a reassessment as a result of the inspections done after Helene, and most of those presumably actually were rated lower as a result of the damage.
Yes, we adjusted
They
a
were
lot,
adjusted a lot.
thousands of properties to the
Okay.
negative because of
Okay.
Helene. We did. And we can do those in
Keep up the
between
good work.
reappraisal. We can do those in between reappraisal years because that is something that happened to the property. We are not taking market data into consideration. Okay, and we also do it to the north. You get a permit and you renovate your home, your value will change that year. It will. So.
And in the last reappraisal, there was a lot of criticism that luxury homes were being undervalued by the assessors. And of course, if luxury homes are being undervalued, that means everyone else's homes are being overvalued, or at least they're paying a disproportionate fair share of their taxes.
Equalization. That's
So I
right.
know the county commission at that point directed you all to make some corrections. Can you describe to us what the result of that is?
Absolutely, and I have some slides from previous presentations at the county I'd be happy to share with you all as well. But what we did is we created a luxury property appraisal team, and that's actually in the Keene study. He recommended the same thing. We were already working on that, trying to get that in place. So we, at one point in time, had one appraiser assigned to it. We have now adjusted that to make it a team approach. So we have a luxury team, we have a reappraisal analyst, we are reviewing that market data. Those properties can be so unique and difficult. Each sale on a property, it's a luxury property. It's multiples amounts of time as it would to take a home like mine and review that property sale. You know, there's so much detail, so much uniqueness there, so it requires more time by staff, but we are addressing that. We're working on that. And we are seeing more market activity in those types of properties since the 2021 reappraisal. Because 2017 to 2021, those were the sales that were in place for that reappraisal, and there was not as much luxury market activity as there has been over these last 5 years.
So I'm assuming then that many of those luxury properties that were undervalued have been reassessed or will be reassessed this time,
Yes,
and presumably at a much higher value.
Accurate, Dr. Market value, that's my goal. Market value is the goal. Regardless of the approach, market value is the goal. So,
Another question. If geographic proximity, because one house might be much larger or more luxurious or newer than its next door neighbor, is not used, what is the grouping criteria? Is it more square footage? Is it, what would the grouping criteria be if it's not geographic?
well, the grouping criteria would be, let's say it would be based on your age, year built, the type of construction, the type of home it is. Yes, the size is very important, square footage is very important. Those types of items. And we do cluster, that was on one of the goals in there, but we do group and cluster our neighborhoods more efficiently now because we have more technical staff, more ability to look at that data in a different way through dashboards and those kinds of things. So we take a home that may not have something like it that's sold geographically, like in that neighborhood. We're able to find those properties a lot easier now. So we would use those other items. Maybe it's outside of my neighborhood, but I know there's a comparable neighborhood to mine. I'll go to that one and see where the sales are.
Are you using drone surveillance to map footprints?
No, sir, I'm not using drones. I don't know if I'm allowed to use drones. I have a question about that. There are some assessors in the state that are able to use them, primarily for some of the beachfront communities. There's a lot of damage that happens out there, obviously, with what's happening out in Dare County. Those homes falling in. So I've heard that some assessors utilizing drones.
So Buncombe's not.
We are not. No, we actually fly our aerials with the company we have a vendor called Eagle View that do high resolution aerials for us. You can see those online. They do a bird's eye view, those kinds of things. And they actually did a program called Sketch Inspect that took all of our property sketches that we have, overlaid it over every property, and showed us how close we are, and highlighted some properties where we would be, maybe we were missing a building, or we were missing 500 square feet, those kinds of things. So we do have methods in place to help kind of find that. There's a lot of different kind of data audits. We go at the data, so many different directions now to try to tease out any issues we might have. But that is a good program that we utilize for this reappraisal.
Okay. We have drones, we'll rent you.
Oh, okay. I'll have to talk to the county attorney first to make sure I can do this.
So just one last question. So folks in town who received a reassessment, post-Helene reassessment, their homes are going to be reappraised in this appraisal anyway, so they're going to get a new appraisal, correct?
Yes, sir. Everyone will get a new appraisal. That's the sure thing about reappraisal is everyone's value will change if you own a property. One of the things too I want to mention as many times as I can, because it seems to get misquoted at times. The assessment office looks at sales to value property, sales, market activity. That's what we use. We do not go to different parts of the county and say this area, this gets this increase, this gets that increase. It's all about what folks are paying for property. State law requires it.
Any other questions, Mr. Krager? Thank you, sir. That was informative. We appreciate it.
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Next item up is the strategic plan draft and possible adoption. And you all have seen the strategic plan. We've had a public hearing on it and received quite a bit of public input via other methods as well. Manager Harris, can you give us an update on the status of the strategic plan?
Mayor and Council, you have that in your packet. We did host public input sessions online for a survey as well as in person for people to stop by, and what is presented to you in your packet is still in draft form till you get ready to adopt it, and we can make some changes but give you some highlights. So we did incorporate 8 goals in that were part of the feedback process. Goal 1 was sustainable growth and development. Goal 2 was emergency preparedness and community resilience. Goal 3 is downtown vibrancy with economic growth and community character. Goal 4 was public safety and neighborhood resilience. Goal 5 was infrastructure and environmental resilience. Goal 6 is parks, recreation, special events, and community vitality. Goal 7 was organizational culture, and Goal 8 was community engagement and communications. And under each of those goals, they were identified as strategic objectives, with the top 3 being a top priority, with the others listed as a high priority. And again, those were based off of community input from our planning process. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you had time to look through it and see which direction you want to go or anything of that nature.
Are there any questions regarding the strategic plan? If there's not, is there a motion to adopt the plan, which is a 3-year plan? Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a
Make
mo-
that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next item up is item C, our quarterly report from Planning, and Planning Director Eller, you're up.
My apologies for the delay, just trying to get our screens in order. As always, you have a staff report related to planning activities for the previous 3 months. Permit numbers in there are self-explanatory. I won't expand on those unless we have some questions. Also have planning board activity. Your planning board's been hard at work on a few text amendments. Largely the public hearings that were set tonight are a result of that work from the planning board. You're going to have a couple proposed new residential districts coming down the line, and then as always, a few technical changes within the code as staff encounters issues that may require text amendments. In Manager Harris's report earlier this evening, it was mentioned House Bill 926 that has now become session law, and specifically how that relates to our paving standards. There will be some text amendments within Chapter 20, which is specific to development that will need to be made as well. So we'll be presenting that information to the planning board in the coming months for that upcoming required text amendment. Also in August, your Board of Adjustment, to the best of my knowledge, this was the first time this occurred. They had a meeting and an evidentiary hearing related to a vegetative screen buffer. What occurred is the Holston apartment complex was constructed first. They were required to install a 20-foot landscaping buffer. Now the little triangle parcel that's left over at the intersection of 2570 and Monticello, they're coming in with a commercial use, which also requires a 20-foot buffer. It's been on the code for as long as I've been here, but to the best of my knowledge, this is the first time it's been used, that allows the second person in line to seek the permission of the neighboring property owner to reduce that vegetative buffer, and the Board of Adjustment did see fit to grant that back in August it was. Here, I'll pause for a moment before transitioning to talk about the comprehensive land use plan to ask if anyone has any questions
So
related
curious,
to
what did they reduce it to?
10 feet. So instead of having, 40-foot wall of vegetation, they dropped it to 30.
So are the residents of Holston now going to come and complain to us?
I don't believe so, because they already had a 20-foot buffer in place.
So it was
It
additional.
fared
I see.
remarkably well after Lee. We've got satellite imagery of the existing conditions as well as the plans that were approved back in 2021-ish. There's a buffer there, and now it's 30 feet instead of 40 feet. Any questions or comments about your staff report? No. At this point, I would like to transition to a conversation about the update of the comprehensive land use plan, which can be found on the screens. I need to fall on this sword because I'm the person who established the schedule. Because it largely followed the schedule of the previous year, while the previous year didn't have an election. And the next events related to the update of the comprehensive land use plan may have some problematic timing. So I wanted to have a conversation with council tonight and get your guidance and hopefully some consensus on whether or not you want to stick to the plan as laid out, which calls for a joint meeting with the planning board in November, and then at least a consideration of the adoption of the plan in December. And one of the things that was discussed earlier tonight is the new council will be seated at that time. At this point, I would like your guidance on whether or not we want to stick with this schedule or push everything by a month or two or however long you see fit in order to better accommodate the upcoming events related to the election.
So just making sure, you're prepared to go with the existing schedule, but what you're suggesting is that since there's going to be a change in council, do we want to delay? What are y'all's thoughts?
More than half of the seats are going to be turned over. It's going to be a very young, new council. I remember 2 years ago when I came on, it was very helpful that we got in our strategic planning in February, I believe it was. I think that would be a good idea.
I agree. I think pushing it out about 90 days so that the new council goes through their orientation with all of the staff, and they get to hear about these things and wade a little bit into the water as they go. So I think that's a good idea to push it out.
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, you got a break, man.
I'm hearing 90 days. Is that the general consensus?
Yes.
That makes sense.
That's all I have for you this evening. One more opportunity to answer any questions or field any comments that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Next up is the quarterly report from the finance director and Finance Director Dozier. What do you got?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before we talk about the current fiscal year, I wanted to give you a quick update on the audit. The auditors, as you know, finished their work in August and September. Probably will not be here to give you their findings until your December meeting. Normally they come in February and November. Things are a little bit delayed this year. For one thing, the state delayed the deadline by a month because so many jurisdictions were having trouble finding an auditor and getting their financials prepared and submitted on time. And also because of Hurricane Helene, we will need a single audit because of the FEMA funds. So that has to be part of our main audit, so that all gets presented together. So they will be here at your December meeting. But if you want to look at first quarter revenues on page 100, we're off to a good start. Our tax levy came in very close to budget. Of course, you know, we don't collect a lot of our taxes until second and third quarter of the year. Our sales tax is looking good. It's a little higher than the previous year and really close to our budget number. Buncombe County Fire Protection looks a little off there. They accidentally overpaid us last month. And they're going to be taking that back in the next quarter, so that will all even out as we go along. The following page 101 are your year-to-date expenditures. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Following that is all the detail line by line by department. I wanted to skip ahead, if there's no questions on any of that, to our capital projects. Starting on page 113, we've had just a little bit of progress in engineering fees on the two projects related to the water treatment plant. But I wanted to take a minute to give you an update on our FEMA funds, because we feel like we're finally making some significant progress with that. So if you look on page 115, which is actually the last page in your packet, this is a report I downloaded off our FEMA website, which shows you all of our projects by category, the title, the process step, the best available cost, and then off to the right I've added whether or not we've actually received those funds or not, and the date they came in. So if you actually skip down to the very last project, I'll start with that because that's the debris removal, the expedited project. We received the 1.8 million, as you know, back in October of last year. They way overestimated that project. They had estimated 3.6 million. They expedited half of that to us, which is where we got the 1.8. The actual for that project was about 608,000. So we do owe the 1.2 million back to FEMA. That project has not been finalized yet, so we haven't paid it back yet. The good news is while they're waiting to finalize that project, we've had more money come in. So if you look at the column on the right, received by town, we've received just over $1 million from other projects.
I hope you have the money in a money market while we're holding it.
We're not allowed.
Oh, are you kidding me?
You cannot earn interest on FEMA money. So that's the status of the 1.8 million. If you go up to, I bolded the amounts that we have received, the 605,000. That's the Category B emergency protective measures. That's probably the largest project that we have. Those are our overtime hours. A lot of that was force account labor, staff labor immediately after the storm. The overtime cost, equipment rental. So every time we used a chainsaw, every time we used any of our vehicles, any piece of equipment, we were allowed to record the hours, and FEMA has rates for each piece of equipment. And then we request reimbursement for all of those equipment hours. So that was a big chunk of that as well. And then also some equipment that we had to rent, like generators and some cranes and things like that. So we did receive that 605,000. Right below that is the one culvert that you heard about in the town manager's report, where work has started on that. It was 93,000 for that. 234,000 was the big water line break under Reams Creek that cut off water to the south side of town. So we received reimbursement for that. And then 76,000 on the raw water pump station at the water treatment plant. So everything in the process step column, if you see pending, that could easily change. Those numbers have not been finalized. It has more review steps to go through. But if everything were to turn out in our favor, best case scenario, we'd be looking at receiving about $2.7 million from FEMA. And just keep in mind, this is in addition to what we've already received on our insurance claims, because everything was in, not everything, but our most of our equipment was covered by insurance that we have through the league, and that was about $160,000 that we received from the league. Any questions on?
So I know the single audit that we have to do for the FEMA funds isn't going to be too tremendous, but can we bill FEMA for that? For the audit?
Not for the audit, but we can for all the grant administration work. We've got Land of Sky helping us prepare all of these. It's a lot of red tape, a lot of.
And how about the water wheel? What did FEMA what was the final determination with regard to
The water wheel, if you look at about halfway down the Lake Louise project, that's pending EHP review, which is Environmental Historic Preservation. That 107,000, almost 108,000, that includes the water wheel, along with a couple other small projects or small pieces in that Lake Louise project.
So FEMA's not going to pay us for that piece?
No, it's still under review.
It's still under review.
Still under review.
Okay. Any other questions for the finance director? Thank you, Tanya. Appreciate you. Thank you. We do have a closed session for this evening, and Attorney Free, would you give us the proper wording for that for a motion to do so?
Yes, sir. Pursuant to 143, 318, 11A, 3, 5, and 6, going in for attorney-client communications, confidential personnel, discussion, and possibly amendment of an agreement.
Is there a motion to go into closed session?
That motion.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll meet in the conference room in a few minutes, folks.